Pilates Master Instructor, physiotherapist, and the founder of Moushumi Pilates. Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Moushumi, who's going to be talking to us about all things Pilates. So over to you, Moushumi. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your Pilates story? How did you begin and become this fabulous teacher that you are today?
Hi. So, journey with Pilates right after question, and this is something that I kind of incorporated, and this was about 20 odd years ago when I was introduced to the concept of Pilates, and that's when I started, doing courses and sort of taking this into my rehab world. And then I found that there was a lot of merit in the way the exercises helped my patients. And then I decided to go kind of a notch higher. And I literally one day I was thinking that, why am I waiting for patients to be patients? So I decided to, I said, okay, let me do more of Pilates and see whether, since this form of exercise is helping so much, let me use it more as a preventive measure, as a thought process for, taking the risk away rather than after an injury or after some sort of a pain syndrome. And so I took my own work a little bit to a higher level in terms of, doing the courses and understanding what Pilates is. And then I started taking Pilates classes in the Mattwork where it was just to get people introduced to the concept of the core, posture, alignment. And I think what I used to tell all of them is that make sure whatever I teach you, you take it out there. Because it's not a class where you're just going to learn a few things. It's not only an exercise class. I want you to be able to use this concept in your world, whatever it is that you're doing. So that was kind of where my journey started. Then I took it to the equipment studios, and then we opened a few branches. And then I thought, okay, this is a beautiful form of exercise. I would like for more people to be able to instruct in this form. So I started with Moushumi Pilates education, tied up with 2 international institutes where I teach the Pilates form of exercise. Predominantly, one of them being where I did my training is called the Australian Physiotherapy and Pilates Institute. And so now I teach a whole series of courses for people who want to become instructors, Mattwork Pilates, Pilates, and a whole bunch.
So that's lovely.
In my journey.
That's absolutely inspiring. And for the ones who would like to reach out to Moushumi, you can find the details below in the description, and you can reach out and definitely take up Pilates as a class. It's really amazing. I've had the experience firsthand of going to the studio and learning from her. So it's been really amazing. So coming to Pilates as an exercise, what is the easiest way to understand it for someone who doesn't know anything about it?
So Pilates, basically, if I was to put it in a nutshell, is one of the only forms of exercise in which you actually start training from the core. So it's about understanding what is the core and engaging the core, and then keeping your body in a good posture and alignment whilst you exercise. So the whole concept comes from, if my body is in a neutral space with my core engaged, then I'm working in a good length tension ratio for all my muscles. Therefore, my muscles are working more efficiently. And the other part of Pilates is that when you do it as a workout, it literally, other than posture alignment and engaging from the core, it works on every aspect of an exercise. So you're dealing with mobility, flexibility, muscle tone, muscle strength, balance, coordination. So I just think it's brilliantly packaged.
Right. And, when it comes to all the options available, like strength training, weight training, yoga and Pilates, how does one weigh these options, and how is it different from all of these exercises?
So I would like to sort of think of Pilates as maybe the base level where a person can understand their body, how to move,
Right.
and what are the nuances in their own body. And
Right.
as they're doing their Pilates program, again, I don't ever discourage any of my clients or patients to stop doing anything, because every
Right.
other form of exercise has its own advantage. So
Absolutely.
let's look at yoga, which has a breath focus or it has a flexibility focus. If you look at weight training in a gym, then it has the higher level of strength training. So if you could do a combination, I think that's a beautiful fit for anybody's fitness level. The one
Right.
thing that Pilates does not hit is cardio, unless we do a very specific cardio class. And therefore,
Right.
yes, I would always say please add in some cardio to your workout.
And is Pilates a suitable exercise for all ages, or is there a certain, box that we could fit in?
No, it's absolutely wonderful for everyone and of every age. I mean, of course, we're not looking at very small children.
Right.
But in one of my Mumbai studios, we do have one of my instructors with Moushumi Pilates is an occupational therapist working in the pediatric world, from very small babies to,
Oh, lovely.
going to
Okay.
school. And she has been incorporating some of the concepts in their program, but it's not something that they can do themselves, right? So that's where
Right.
the age limit, I would say, if you're coming to a class, then obviously you need the child to be at a level of understanding certain,
Right, of course.
yeah. But otherwise,
Right.
age no bar.
Absolutely. That's good to know. And Pilates Mattwork is something that has gained a lot of popularity over the years, because not everyone has an access to a studio or the equipment. So do you think that doing mat work at home is as effective as using the equipment that Pilates uses?
Yes, because Pilates is a concept, right, in terms of
Right.
an exercise form, and you can do it wherever. It depends on your level of fitness. With the equipment, the advantage is that you can, like like let's say the reform, it is spring loaded, so you can add more resistance. Or if
Right.
you're doing the arc, it gives you a curvature along which you move your spine. So these are
Right.
facilitators. Where my patients are concerned, sometimes the equipment gives more support. Therefore, I would like to start there. But on a general perspective, mat work can sometimes be tougher. So yes, it's absolutely fine to do only mat work Pilates if that's what interests you.
Right. That's really good to know. And a lot of people think that Pilates, when they think of Pilates, they find it to be a lot more complicated as a beginner than other exercises. Like they don't know where to begin, and maybe after a class or two, they might feel like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here exactly. It's a little complicated. Is that the case, or do you think that this is where a beginner can begin the fitness journey with Pilates?
So Pilates is very it's got very specific areas of focus. It's not
Right.
initially just a general fitness, right? So when somebody
Right.
comes, especially for me, so I'm going to talk about
Right.
it from my perspective. Again, there are many schools of thought, many institutes, different styles of teaching, but I want the person to understand their body. So yes, it gets a little
Right.
bit, technical, but I think once you get that and you get the flow, and we use a lot of what is called cueing, so verbal cues, visual cues. There are many
Right.
imaginary cues which sometimes also add
Right.
humor to their workout, which I think is important. And it is a little instructor driven to start with, because for you to understand your body, it's very difficult to do that. Just looking
Right.
at yourself in the mirror and saying, "Oh, am I doing this right?" And that was somewhere where my
Right, of
journey
course.
started as well. I started Pilates just out of books and DVDs and stuff that was available way back then, and
Right.
it was very difficult. I was like, "Am I doing this right? Am I actually
Right, exactly.
getting what this exercise form is all about?" And so then
Right.
I went to London at that time, did more study to understand, so yeah, it's a bit slow maybe in the beginning when you're trying to get
Right.
the concept in, but then it's absolutely fabulous. Like once you know what the nuances are and if you've done it through a guided program, then I think, yeah, you're good to go even on your own. I think then
Right. That was well explained. Yeah. So, when someone walks into a Pilates class or they want to train under you, what is the ideal goal they should be having in their mind? Is it posture correction? Is it losing weight? Or, what steps does that work in?
No, it's we always start with an assessment, and my question is directed to them. What is
Right.
it that you're looking for? Now, I'm not talking about my patients, and I'm not talking about rehab Pilates. I'm talking about
Right.
it in a general setup. So we try to address the goals that our clients want to address. So someone will say,
Right.
"Okay, I do a lot of gym and I feel very stiff," or someone will say, "I'm already doing yoga, so how can you add to this program?"
Right.
Or a lot of our focus goes towards certain sports. So we get a lot of people who are, like working maybe marathon runners or triathlon.
Right.
They want to ski or golf or skate, or so then it's very client driven in terms of focus.
Right. Right. Understood. Understood. And so, coming to posture correction, do you think that Pilates is one of the best exercises to go for with posture correction? Because I have had the opportunity of taking some classes with you, and I've never had any instructor in any other form of exercise explain, the core or the form of my exercise to me that well. So, do you think that is one of the best ways someone should go for if they want to improve their posture?
So I would say no, because I think that's instructor driven, right?
Right.
Of course, my training comes with a lot more background because of being
Right.
a physiotherapist. I'm also looking at it from that perspective. I do
Right.
tend to focus a lot on posture alignment, how the muscles are working, how the person in front of me is moving. So, I think that's just me. That's just
Right. Right.
then I'm putting Pilates into. Yes, Pilates has a very high focus on posture, but again, it's very instructive.
Understood. Understood. And when it comes to rehab Pilates, what people with what sort of injuries or aches and pains would be advised to come for rehab Pilates that would help them in that area?
So, literally, it would go by my assessment. In my case, it would go by the assessment. Like for any pain or any kind of involvement of the body, in which there is an acute involvement of trauma in any way. It could be nerve,
Right.
it could be disc, it could be orthopedic, in whichever scenario. We have to address the problem first in the acute phase. So that's probably not
Right.
the best time when they have a lot of swelling, a lot of inflammation, a lot of pain. Then
Right.
we work on the treatment aspect of it. Once that is at bay and movement isn't the provocation, then everyone
Right.
literally can start with that. There's no,
Okay.
I've worked with people with shoulder post surgeries, for abdominal surgeries, for knee surgeries, pre-postnatal, neurological. I've worked with stroke patients, for paralysis, all kinds.
Okay. Right, right. That was very insightful, definitely. And what would you say are the pillars of Pilates?
The pillars of Pilates are definitely its focus on a core engagement. I'm not going to say core strength because,
Right.
and that's actually my pet peeve with Pilates is the core training program. But there's a whole
Right.
concept of core, and maybe we can take that on another day. But
Right.
it has a high emphasis on core engagement. It has a very high emphasis on posture alignment and how to move.
Okay. So, what role does Pilates play in pelvic floor health?
So, pelvic floor as a set of muscles, so they're therefore known as the pelvic floor muscles, forms an integral part of what we call the core. So it therefore
Right.
forms an integral part of the entire Pilates program. That just to give a little explanation of what the pelvic floor does and therefore why it works is you have the diaphragm at the top and the pelvic floor at the bottom, and they kind of work in sync like that. And they have
Right.
a kind of a bounce off or a trampoline effect for each other in terms of distribution of forces, just with the simple action of breathing. Of course, the pelvic floor muscles have multiple other functions, but I'm only correlating this to Pilates. So
Right.
when we are doing, and Pilates also has a very high breath focus. So when we're working the exercise, we are engaging from all the muscles involved in the, what's called the inner core unit. It's giving us
Right.
a good, stable base to work from, and therefore giving us a much more efficient body to work with.
Right.
So the pelvic floor muscles play a really important role in that. Right? I mean, there's a lot on the pelvic floor, but I'm not going down that road today.
Right, of course, understood. That was great, Moushumi. So, lastly, my question would be that what should one look for while opting for a Pilates class? What are the parameters that one should look for when they're choosing an instructor or going for a class? Like, what should be the right way to go about it?
I think, really speaking, I think you should look for an instructor that you feel comfortable with, because
Right.
like we have different institutes and different programs in Pilates. So that's the first thing, because it's a very instructor-driven program, especially if you're coming to classes at the studio. I think from the instructor's perspective, they should equip themselves with enough, information, knowledge about the body.
Right.
I'm really striving to take instructors to teach them anatomy, to learn about the body, because I think that should be an integral part of Pilates
Absolutely.
training. And then, of course, depends on the style. So are you looking for what's called studio Pilates? So it's more like fun, fitness. Are you looking for some specific goals, right? And I think last but not the least, it should be close to your space so that you actually go to class and cannot bunk with.
Right. Right. So that was a very insightful episode and all the information that you gave us, Moushumi. Thank you so much for that. Are there any last thoughts or suggestions, any message that you want to leave us with for our audience?
I just want to say that everyone should do it. Everyone should experience it. I think not because I teach it, but the reason I teach it is because in the past I found so much merit. So yeah, and feel free to connect with us. And again, Sakshi, thank you very, very much for having us on the platform. And yeah, all the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. For the ones who don't know, Moushumi Pilates is in Pune and Mumbai. You can find more details in the description to contact them, and definitely go for one of the classes and probably enroll with them. And also for the ones who are looking for instructor training courses and want to educate themselves about Pilates and anatomy, Moushumi is the best person to go to if you stay close by and to all these locations. So thank you so much, Moushumi. It was really insightful. I'm sure that when it comes to Pilates, there's so many doubts, people have who have not ever had a class or, don't know anything about it. So definitely that has been solved with all the answers that you gave. Thank you so much.
So we do have a couple of FAQs answered on our website, and we also are open to people sending us, asking us questions. So feel free if anyone who wants to know. Thank you very much again, Sakshi.
Thank you. I'm Sakshi Pawar. I'll be your host for the Settle Led Me Better podcast. Stay tuned as we bring more inspiring stories your way. Thank you so much. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast. Like, share, and comment on our videos. And hit the bell icon, because you don't want to miss the mind-boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?